Shalom. First of all, I'd like to start by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and double honors to the apostles and elders of GreatMillStone, and salutations to the Archim out there doing this work in sincerity and in truth. Just wanted to touch on the subject matter of humility. So to go into Matthew, the 18th chapter, starting from the first verse. So it says, the greatest in the kingdom. That's the subject, man. So Matthew 18:1. At the same time came the disciples unto Yahushua, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Yahushua called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, Verily I say unto you, except you be converted, and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. So the word I wanted to touch on there was, what was Yahushua talking about when he said, except ye be converted? He was talking about turning back to the ways which they had forgotten, and turning back from iniquity, because they were living in the time of the Romans, and many men were influenced by a Roman culture who were Israelites. So Yahushua said, you have to be converted and become as little children, otherwise you can't enter into the kingdom of heaven. And just a quick precept off the back of that verse. This is Psalms 119 verse 9. It says, Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereto according to thy word. So by this truth, this doctrine which Yahushua gave to the disciples who taught other men, that's how men would cleanse their way or become converted, because it's a learning process. It doesn't just come in one day. And to go through that process, you had to take heed to your teachers and be patient and learn submissively, just as a child would submit themselves to their teacher at school. You'd follow instructions. Verse 4, it says, Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So Yahushua took a visual aid and pulled the child aside and said to them, this is how you should be. You know, the child wasn't freaking out or fighting Yahushua saying, don't fucking touch me, or being rebellious. He just stood there. So in other words, as a child, you might get offended when you're told what to do or given instructions on how to do something. But really, when you're young, you don't really know anything. So it all boils down to experience. So when you come into this truth, you have to obey experienced men who have walked the walk and talked the talk. There's going to be things that as a child you don't understand. But as you grow with progression, the Spirit will reveal things to you and things will start to make sense. So things take time. Verse 5, And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me. A good example is when Yahushua was a child, he learnt the law. He was raised in the law by his mother and father. But then he went out and started teaching roughly around when he was 12 years old. He was a young man. So you're going to have all kinds of brothers coming into this truth at all different ages. Some are young, like really young, 16 years old, whatever. You know, you got other men that's going to be like in their 50s or whatever the case may be. Just two examples of two extremes, right? Nonetheless, you're not going to despise a man because of his youth, or a man of many years. The point is, we all had to start somewhere in this truth, with little or no knowledge of what the Bible actually means, or who it's for. And we all had to put away the wisdom of this world, and the so-called understanding that we thought we had, that got put away. And we start with a fresh mind, like a child. So we got to count ourselves blessed when we receive a man or a young man in the name of Yahushua who wants to come into this truth. Verse 6, But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. So you're going to have brothers that believe and are learning this truth, and you're going to have scoffers that are offended at the doctrine that they have taught or learned. Scriptures talk about the fools that hate knowledge. The Lord put it plain. He said, look, man, you're going to be judged for that. Once again, Yahushua said, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. So that's a serious judgment, let alone the worst of things that can happen to you. Verse 7, it says, woe unto the world because of offences, for it must needs be that of offences come. That offences come, Salakia. But woe to that man by whom the offence cometh. Because you're going to get offended in this truth, man. Not everything that's taught are you going to be able to receive straight away. Such as the rape thing, which is totally biblical. For those of you hearing this truth for the first time or watching this video for the first time, you're probably thinking, what rape thing? Don't get offended. You just lack understanding. And there's videos across the internet that members of GreatMillStone go into, man. Countless videos. One of the recent things that I've seen happen is a guy would get offended because he thought he knew the Bible, talking about Satan fell from heaven, as if Satan had a fight with the Most High and he was cast out of heaven, which is contrary to the truth, man. That's just the wisdom of this world. But when you humble yourself and become as a child, you receive the truth and you find out that wasn't so. So the point is, there's a lot of things that you picked up from a child into your adulthood which wasn't biblical. You just got to let them things go, man. And peradventure, the Lord, if the Spirit's dealing with you, then the Lord will reveal the wisdom of those things, man, the understanding. Anyway, so I hope you were edified and received the words that Yahushua was talking about in this chapter. There's going to be things that you're not going to understand. Don't get offended at it, man. Or, you know, you might get offended at it. But, you know, remember to be humble and be patient. And the Spirit will reveal the truth unto you, man. If the word is for you. So anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.